All right, good evening, everyone. I've got 6 o'clock p.m. It's Thursday, November 21st, 2024. I'm here to call to order this regular meeting of the Columbus Utility Commission. Matt, if you could take a roll call when you're ready.
Hammer.
Here.
Tinkler.
Here.
Tome.
Here.
Rule.
Here.
Handler.
Here.
Curtis.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. This meeting has been noticed in accordance with state statutes and local ordinances. Next item is to approve the agenda for the evening, unless there's any alterations or deletions.
Okay, I would move that we approve tonight's agenda with a modification to the consent agenda to remove the approval of meeting minutes of November 7th and approve them at the December meeting.
Okay.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the agenda with the removal of the minutes from November 7th meeting. We will do that at the next meeting. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The agenda is approved. Public comment. Jack, did you wish to speak? State your name and address, please. I think you know where the magic button is there. There we go. You're on.
You're good. There. All right. Jack Sanderson, longtime city resident. I talked to you about this issue of fluoride in our water before, I don't know, 7, 8 months ago, last year, I forget. I passed out some handouts here. One of them I described as the 50 reasons to oppose fluoride. That's basically a compilation of the science. It's been around for a while. I think the date is on 2012 on that. It's solid new science that has come forward on the detriments of fluoride. The other one is the one-page flyout. I call that the legal thing. Now, what's new since the last time I talked to you about fluoride is that a federal court judge in September of this year has ruled against the federal EPA, ruled against the federal government. Federal judge ruled against the federal government saying, you got to get your act together on this fluoride science because the science is overwhelming that it has no benefit in our water supply. This graph right here, which is also in the 50 reason handout, basically documents the fact there's no benefit to cavity and tooth decay in between unfluoridated communities and fluoridated communities. It's the y-axis is a tooth decay parameter, and then the time axis goes back to like 1965 or something. And tooth decay is declining regardless of water or fluoride in your water. Most likely declining due to better oral hygiene techniques, better oral hygiene products. I'm not sure, but the point is, unfluoridated communities and fluoridated communities both have the same result. The basis of fluoride in your water doesn't exist. It's a lie. So, and then on the back of that, I put some excerpts straight out of the judicial decision. I'll close by simply saying that the whole case against fluoride started in like 2017. It ground through the courts for over 7 or 8 years. They threw a whole bunch of science on. There's thousands of, well-educated people, scientists saying fluoride's no good in the water system. And finally, it culminated in a federal court decision ruling against the EPA. And some of the excerpts there from the decision is on there. If you go to the site, you can read the whole decision. It's 80 pages long. The judge took all of that information. He spent 7 to 8 months writing the decision. He actually read all those scientific reviews and made sense out of it, and came up with the argument that the old justification for fluoride in your water is absent. It needs to be a fresh look at. Now, this is something we can do by ourselves. You don't have to put fluoride in the water. And now there's a court saying it's going to be that there's no merit to the argument of tooth decay, And there is concern about neurological damage to fetuses in the womb, that you come out not as bright and sharp as you could be, up to the tune of like 4 or 5 or 6 IQ points. Lots of people are repeating the same science. So that's all I have for you. And the one final kicker is that incoming Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, this is on his to-do list. One of the things I want to do is to take a different look at fluoride. You don't have to wait for an appeal. You don't have to wait for the new administration. There's an overwhelming abundance of concern over there about fluoride in our water, and you have a place to look for further information if you want to read more. That's all I have. Thank you. I appreciate if you took another look at this. With no questions? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I see no one else present for public comment at this time, so we'll move on to the consent agenda with the removal of the November 7th minutes. Any discussion or questions on the consent agenda?
Just one. I know on the paper ad, the grid location, the 5F4239, but it'd be great if there could be an actual address to it, just to,
On the outage report?
yeah,
Okay.
on the outage report. yeah.
I mentioned that to Mason, that they need to make sure they put the address on it.
Other than that,
Anyone want to make a motion to approve the consent agenda then?
I don't know if Reagan had a question.
Reagan, did you have a question?
No, sorry.
Okay.
Well, motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the removal of the November 7th minutes. Any discussion on the motion? If none, could you take a roll call for us, Matt?
Finkler.
Aye.
Tone.
Aye.
Rule.
Aye.
Handler. Aye. Curtis.
Aye.
Hammer. Aye.
Consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to unfinished business number 4, which is this discussion and approval of the 2025 electric utility operating budget. Who wants to head this up? Jacob? Looks like you've been busy.
Are there any questions, other than the fact that the base rate for 2024 for the electrical journeyman lineman is incorrect? That'll be adjusted. When I get back to the office.
That would be page number 16.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. So the total wages for 25 will go down. Which will bring our electric net income a little higher as well. Which is page 13.
Okay.
Just a question on page 17. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Question on page 17. Just a reduction for budget purposes, tools. Is that budget reduction just be,
Correct, I just reduced,
okay.
after having a little more discussion, that's a tools budget I put in. There was one of the requests of the guys that we had is, there's been some tools that have come up that have either, broken, wore out, or things that we've come up that, it'd really be nice if we had this to help us out. I had a number in there, budget came out too high. There's some wiggle room with some of the other areas that we could probably pull it all in.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah, anything you see a reduction, unless it was divided or split between 3 departments or 2 departments, is where I adjusted the cash. And the other thing I did with electric budget for the mini excavator, the Bobcat E48 with the hydraulic breaker, due to the fact we'll be needing that quite a bit with the water services that we'll be working on, causes less damage to the yard, it's a lot smaller footprint. To make the budget work, I spread this out amongst all 3 departments, and I weighted 15% to electric. I believe it was 60% to water, and then the remainder went to wastewater,
Okay.
just to make sure it came out positive.
Jacob, on page 12, bullet number 4, it says the 2025 budget prepared with an 83% increase
That's-
for all.
Yeah, it's 3%. The 8 didn't get
I
deleted.
saw that too.
I saw that too, I was like, whoa.
Thank you.
It's 3%, yes.
Then I had a question on page 22. Account number 3589, under rents.
Yes.
What is that for?
35.89. Rents, that is for the rental of the Bobcat, the Skidster.
Oh.
We split that out, plus the rental of the, or the purchase/rental of the mini excavator. That's where that was all placed.
Okay, all right.
Under rents, just, it seemed to make more sense.
6,000%.
Yeah. it-
Catches you off guard.
It catches you off guard, but it's just, instead of splitting it up amongst all the departments, I just want to
Sure.
say rents here, so
Yep.
budgeting purposes, it'll be easier to
Yeah.
disseminate where it goes. Just so there's no confusion as well, there's a line item added to every budget that hasn't been in here. It's a safety/PPE budget. That number was usually provided into their clothing allowance or what was given as clothing, and then spread across all the other departments. Having a straight budget item for safety allows us to better track what we're needing and what we've used and where, all the things we're needing. Because we just found out that with our safety audit at wastewater, there's a lot of equipment we need to purchase. So it's something we need to be better, more cognitive of tracking. So just an easier way to take care of it.
Makes sense.
Was there any more thought to the email I sent you?
There was thought,
I'll jump in. We'll be addressing that at the December meeting.
yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Brooke, I'm assuming your comment was related to wage adjustment? Okay. I think it would be a good idea if we approve the budget that we include that there are wage adjustments that need to be made here, as you pointed out on the lineman wages as well, so.
Yep, that'll be a note.
Any further questions or discussion on the electric operating budget? Anyone want to make a motion to approve it?
I will make a motion.
There we go. Okay, we'll make a motion to approve the electric budget with the adjustments made regarding the line personnel wages.
Second?
Got a motion and a second to approve the electric utility operating budget for 2025 with the wage adjustments to the lineman numbers that we've been presented this evening. Any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion, we'll need a roll call then, Matt.
I'm slacking. I apologize. Who made the motion and who made the second?
Yep.
Thank you. Tome.
Aye.
Rule.
Aye.
Andler. Curtis.
Aye.
Hammer.
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
right, motion passes. We'll move on to unfinished business number 5, which is the discussion and approval of the 2025 water utility operating budget. As per the header page, the budget was adjusted, the hiring of an additional water operator was removed, and the department was brought in with a positive net for 2025. Anything else to add, Jacob?
Line item 4 on page 30, it's a copy, obviously, 3
Yep.
separate budgets, same cover
Okay.
sheet.
3%?
83%.
Okay.
Everybody be happy except for ratepayers. I probably have a statue erected in front of the building.
Applying for a position.
Right. There'd be a bronze statue of me made out in front, probably, holding a hoagie.
I did have one question on page 34. When it shows the wages, it says operator incentive. Is that for on-call?
The operator incentive is their licensure
Oh, okay,
credits they get.
okay,
So I assumed, Jake and Craig both, that they would either take the test, so I assumed they'd be full boat with those wages for the incentives, but that's what it is for water and for wastewater.
okay. Thanks.
Yep. That was the easiest way to put it in because it's not, doesn't go on the hourly rate. It's only a stipend provided for total hours of worked. So
Okay,
instead of having that be a multiplier for your time and a half, double time, whatnot, it goes in. So say you work 80 hours, you get 80 hours times 5.5. Or if you work 120 hours, times 5.5.
okay.
Can I ask a really dumb question? I know that on page 35, is there really such thing as a kerf cutter, or did you mean turf cutter?
Nope, it's a kerf cutter.
Really?
Yes.
This
Surprise.
commission
If-
never ceases to amaze me.
Add that to your Muffin Monster and
kerf
all those
cutter.
lists.
There's it's a cutter that you can cut where the valve boxes for shutting water off or a sewer valve.
Yeah.
So they're about yay big around. You can insert that, it'll cut from inside out so that you can do some repair work.
So you don't have to grind around the cut on the outside when you use a pipe cutter or whatever. You always have that lip on the outside. If you try to fit the same size sleeve over, you have to grind it down, so it goes from the inside out. It's kind of like a
That's pretty
hole cutter
slick.
for a golf course.
Pretty slick.
Oh, and by the way, the Muffin Monster that we had is broken and removed. Would you like me to drop it off in front of the house?
No.
It would look great in your yard. I'll even put a flower pot in it.
You got that big rock right by you can put it in.
It would look great right there to be ground.
Turn it into a monument somehow?
Right. Nolly's Muffin Monster. I still got to get you a hat, I swear.
I think on page 35 on your little chart there for the hydraulic, or the Bobcat hydraulic breaker and ripper, you had 65% allocated to
Yeah.
the,
Yep.
this utility, okay?
Yeah.
Because they're gonna be using it the most?
Well, it's just how I was able to get it to
Make
even
them-
out the budget.
Okay,
Water, electric will be using it the most, just like the trench boxes. Even DPW, if need be, can use our trench boxes. It's a safety thing that we doesn't have enough of, I guess you could say, and doesn't hurt to have it for everybody's use. But this is the way it budgeted out. Depending on how many services we actually switch out this next year, that was the budget item we put in. We just put the lead service number in there. Not sure what's going to happen with, grant money from the state or the Fed for that, but, it's going to depend on, what we can get done and what the customers want to get done. There is the ordinance in place, but we don't want to cut our own throats with that.
go ahead, Sandy.
Jacob, on page 36, under operating expenses, the
Yes.
transmission and distribution expenses, seems to be a big increase there. What is the cause of that?
That's the overview, so I'd have to see on the detailed list where that comes in.
So at the 216%?
It is the meter expenses, meter supplies and expenses, that is the meter bench for testing the meters.
Is that a new piece of equipment?
We
or-
approved it September. The one we have is no longer functional, and we need these to test our meters every year.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
It's not cheap, and that was not even the most expensive option.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Also, the rents and supplies is in there as well for the purchase of the Bobcat, the rental of the Skidster. So that is also where that large percentage number comes from.
Any other questions on the water utility budget? There's no further questions, and entertain a motion to approve it.
I move to approve the water budget.
Second?
Motion and a second to approve the 2025 water utility operating budget. Any discussion on the motion? If none, could we have a roll call, please, Matt?
Rule.
Aye.
Handler.
Aye.
Curtis.
Aye.
Hammer.
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
Tome.
Aye. All right, we'll move on to item number 6 then, with discussion and approval of the 2025 wastewater utility operating budget. As Jake points out on the main page here, the budget was adjusted, rate case increases were adjusted, septage receiving protocol was adjusted, alternative rate for septage receiving was also calculated using the 2008 to 2018 rates, but not provided. This can be discussed further. The department budget was brought in with a positive net for 2025. And again, assuming number 4 on page 46 is 3% again.
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Keep it consistent.
Right.
Okay.
I do have the paperwork to show the alternate septage receiving increase and what the budget would increase to if we, or I should say the cash flow would increase to if we use those rates still. Further discussion is I'm still trying to figure out why the adjustment was made to what it was made to, their current rate right now of $8.54 per 1,000 gallons. I reached out to Baker Tilly, who provided the rate case in '22. None of our documentation we have at the plant or anything that I could find identifies why that was done when the rate case suggested an increase to $172 per 1,000 gallons. But we have a base rate of $7.17, which I would assume is for RVs, campers that are unloading, and then we have our septage holding tank rate, which is our standard rate of $8.54. Then it jumps up to $25 for medium strength or extra strength, and then high strength is $35. There's a huge discrepancy with the amount of revenue that was made with that lower adjustment. Even the fact that on our permit, we were only tracking holding tank as the septage we were receiving, when in fact we have always been receiving high strength or septic tank waste, which is a higher strength, which is the higher charge. Roughly the numbers from 24, assuming the same percentage of 24 and 23's numbers are the same, roughly 40% of the total septage received is high strength waste. You're seeing a loss of over $60,000 in revenue. So yeah, that's one of the things I calculated. Also, based on the suggestions of the commission during our workshop, adjusting their rate case, which will be finalized and presented to you in the December meeting. I made the adjustments to industrial clients, to Fall River, Elba, residential, as well as the septage receiving. I lowered the rates as far as I could to maintain a positive number before I started playing with the septage receiving rates, because, like I said, it's unknown why that was made. If there was a reason behind it, then I can justify, well, now we're gonna increase it to this versus, going to the other way, which is reverting back to our original 2008 to 2018 rate schedule. But as you'll see, for residential customers, a 35% increase. Industrial customers, which is collection system receiving industrial customers, I increased the rate to 60%. 40% for Elba Fall River. And then the adjustments that I made on the septic receiving for 25 based off of the current procedure, I made the rate in case of the adjustments over here in the box to the right of that. It shows a breakdown of how the rates were increased and everything was changed based on the lab testing, the strength of the waste, and just what's needed. Essentially, for every truckload we were taking, it was costing us more money to run the samples than we were actually making off the truck, which is kind of sad.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Jacob, on page 31,
31 or 50?
51, I'm sorry. Bifocals didn't line up right. On page 51, about the sixth item down, the John Deere 624P rental,
Yes.
it says 16,000, but isn't that 32,000 for the year?
It was 16,000 that I put in for the first payment, which is, we can make the first payment this year, next year, it just has to be within every 6 months. The total price would be 32,000, which is in the budget as 32,000.
Okay.
And I did investigate your request that was emailed about looking into using the DPW unit that is the older case model. There are no costs to us using that except for filling it with fuel and repairing any damages that happen to it. But I did go out and actually run the machine yesterday, and I can tell you that the efficiency and ability for that vehicle to actually be used safely, I would say, is not exactly ideal. It is very hard to move the sludge cake with that machine. Traction is an issue. The ability to lift is an issue. As I was told also that the trucks that we've been filling for our land application, which hasn't been our spreader truck, it's been contracted out, we can't even fill the trucks to full load because the bucket does not tip high enough. So we're being charged per load. So if you are taking 4 or 5 bucket loads out of each truck, that's a lot of money we're using in extra loads to not utilize the actual truck space. Not only that, I noticed that the hydraulics have a little bit of an issue. They are weak. When you are trying to move forwards into the pile, pick up the sludge, it really bogs down, and the hydraulics do not move at the same RPMs. And also, going from neutral to forward, neutral to reverse, the transmission does slip. And I do believe a transmission that would be close to $30,000. If you could even find it.
It's important to note that the reason Public Works has held on to that loader is they use their new loader for snow removal, and that backup loader allows them to load salt into trucks without having to bring the other loader back every time they need to load a new truck. So that backup loader is really a efficiency feature for streets. It's not a piece of equipment that they use on a consistent or regular basis.
Which would explain why when we used it this year, the bucket literally rusted off the machine. It's used for salt, and it makes sense because that bucket is actually narrower than most standard buckets. So when you're filling the back of a 3,500 or a one and a half ton, 1 ton truck versus or a quad axle, you're not putting salt on the cab and on the ground. It's a smaller bucket. Yeah, the lighting also really is horrible. You might as well just do it in the dark. But it was fun to play in the mud for a little bit. It's been a while.
Any further questions or discussion on the wastewater utility budget? If none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I will make a motion to approve the sewer wastewater budget.
I'll second. Got a motion and a second to approve the 2025 wastewater utility operating budget. Any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion, could you take a roll call, Matt?
Andlar.
Aye.
Curtis.
Aye.
Hammer.
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
Tome.
Aye.
Rule.
Aye.
Okay, move on to item number 7 then, the rental of the John Deere 624P for 2025 and the purchase in 2026 via the CIP borrowing for the wastewater treatment plant.
Yes. Rupert Milky will also be here to present the adjustment for the task order for the biosolids project for wastewater. It's an amendment or an adjusted task order of the previously approved task order to put in the dewatering unit and the dryer. It is cheaper this way.
That'll be in December.
It'll be in December.
Okay.
Yep. Dave Arnott will be here to present.
So it looks like this is a newer unit then with only
Yep.
a few hours on it.
It is the new unit. Midstate did us a favor by holding it for the approval. It does have full warranty until September of '26.
Okay.
So, and that includes the maintenance, all the warranty. Yep. Maintenance included every 200 hours through January 27th, so.
And then, so the plan is we'd be renting it for 1 year and then purchasing it after that year.
Correct. It
when
would just go
the
right
bonding-
in. They would just, first of the year, once the bonding is approved for that project, obviously Fall River will have to approve the project, you know, and then we can make the purchase and have it a new vehicle, new unit. And this is a high lift unit, so we will be able to lift completely as high as possible and fill a quad axle with the high sides.
So just a clarification question that I have. So, you know, heavy snow events, the end loader's available, you know, for when they're hauling snow?
Yeah, I mean,
No, I
if
mean,
we needed
it's-
to, I mean, we're gonna be on a snow route, if we're over the 4 inches or 3 inches, whatever the requirement is, where wastewater's being, you know, assisted.
Right.
But we will be able to use this, obviously we'll clean it up if it's dirty.
Right,
But we'll be
right.
able to go out, use it to lift, fill, you know, take care of snow and fill quad axles and get rid of the,
And this gets
Snow.
used then for the sludge, but how
Sludge.
how often?
with the new system, it's yet to be determined how we're actually gonna remove and actually see how we're gonna move the sludge from one building to the next. We may be scooping it out of a box, we may be dragging it in like a roll-off container with this over to the unit, then dumping it. But also, the process moving forward is we're gonna basically put a dividing wall in the middle of, not obviously all the way out, but probably about a third or a quarter of the way off the back wall of the storage building. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna allow us to stack the cake higher, it'll more retention, you know, surface tension on the sludge, so it's not slumping as much. Our goal is to move it back and forth as much as possible to get better drying and decomposition of what water and organic matter's left in there. So, and you can see when I was yesterday, I took probably 30 scoops out, moved it around, it was steaming in the middle of the pile. So we know we have anaerobic decomposition, so it's basically a compost pile still. So moving that's going to be beneficial for us. It'll keep drying.
And then I guess my other question is, depending on what ends up happening with the old case, and they need a piece of equipment to load salt,
We would be able to use this.
and obviously you want to get it washed off real good, so.
Yeah. Yeah, the one thing that's not in here and that I still have to find that Chris couldn't find for me is I want to put, most of the buckets, they come with a bolt-on plate, either a cutting wedge or they have the teeth. They look like the parking barriers that are the rubber stops. They put them on the snow blades or snow boxes. They're thick, they're almost like a Teflon, but they're a rubberized material, and use that to scrape so it'll squeegee off the floor better, so we get cleaner, so we actually have better grip when we're actually scooping. And it doesn't really affect the performance of the bucket, it just allows us to cleanly scrape the floor and not damage the bucket or concrete.
It's like a wearable edge that could be replaced.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's kind of like a squeegee used to push water out of your garage or whatnot.
Jacob, do you have any concerns about the 400 hours being adequate?
No, I don't. For the first year, I don't think it'll be an issue. And then after that, it's gonna be ours to use as much as possible. I'm optimistic that we'll be able to have a high enough reduction of solids this year coming up that we won't have as much rain, knock on wood. So we won't have as much sludge production, but even though we did have a higher sludge production, we still were able to break it down in our aerobic digesters with the enzyme quite a bit. I mean, that 500 yards that we reduced in the first study, if that goes for an entire year, that's going to be quite a bit of material to save. So I don't think the hours will be an issue. If it is towards the end of the year, it's not really going to matter because we're buying the unit anyways. I think probably the reason that would make sense is, so 400 hours total, so you're only going to get 2 services in the year, because that's every 200 hours.
So as far as the ultimate purchase of this unit, that's depending upon when we bond, correct?
Correct.
So if we were to the point where we were using it more than we thought and we're at the 400-hour limit, we don't know the exact date of purchase, but we could purchase it earlier potentially if you have the funds, correct?
Yeah, we could, but essentially we were basically going to put this in with that capital project.
Okay.
To be all part of that, and that was going to go out, obviously, into design, and then go out for approval, next year.
Okay.
Hopefully, that would be started as soon as probably spring '26, hopefully.
But you're hoping to get this before the end of the year, correct? It says
Yeah.
December 1st, okay.
Yeah. It's available, and we can start the lease anytime. You just have to make 2 payments in 6 months.
Any other discussion or
Discussion.
questions?
Hopefully all
Combine the
for-
2
for
words. Disquestions.
I think Thanksgiving break is coming for everybody.
Yeah, I can't wait. Any other discussion? I'll make a motion to approve the rental of the John Deere 624P for 2025 and the purchase in 2026 for the capital improvements for the wastewater treatment plant.
Second.
Motion a second to approve the purchase of the John Deere, or the rental and then the purchase of the John Deere. Any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion, could we take a roll call, Matt?
Curtis.
Aye.
Handler. Aye. Rule.
Aye.
Tome.
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
Hammer. Aye.
All right. We got through all the budgets. Thank you, Jacob, for all of the work you've had to put into this and all the changes, and also Crystal, thank you. I know that you've been helping a lot, so
Couldn't do it without her.
yeah, we appreciate that. We'll move on to new business then. Number 8, the annual election of commission officers. have to elect chair, vice chair, and then the secretary.
If I may, what's the term that if all are willing, that I would make a motion that we keep the current officers in place?
Second.
If they're so willing.
I was gonna ask the same question, if anybody wants out or wants to change anything, I'm fine serving if everybody's fine with that.
I'm gonna bring you back in.
Just to confirm, Tom serves as president, Handler as secretary, is there a vice? And that's Sandy.
Sandy.
Yeah.
And is it, so president, vice president, and secretary?
Correct.
Just for the minutes?
Yep.
You can always all put it on.
He's
the-
shaking his head yes.
You can always put it on the new person.
Yeah, someone else wanna?
By the way,
I wouldn't mind sitting on the
That'll
end.
increase your odds of filling.
I'm fine with it.
You're fine with it?
Yeah.
Sandy, you're fine?
I'm fine.
Okay. Well, then I would make the motion to, going into, well, this would take place at next meeting, correct? By how the,
We're a month behind, so yeah, I mean, yeah.
yeah, but I mean, that's.
Yep, yep.
So starting at the December utility meeting, the current officers will stay as the new officers.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion, a second to basically,
For a term of 1 year.
yeah, re-elect the same slate of officers for the next year, starting in December. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to number 9. This seems pretty self-explanatory. It looked like there was sort of an emergency purchase that's already been completed, and we
yeah,
need
this
to
is more of
formalize
a
it.
forgiveness more than permission. It had to get done, and it was actually installed yesterday, so.
Good.
We won't energize it until December, because there's some other work that needs to be done outside of our system and everything, so. And then Dalton is also off next week. Actually, almost everybody's off next week. And then Dalton is at school the first week of December, so it'll be the following week. I believe it's the 10th or 12th that we're gonna be energizing it, something like that.
Is it typical for these to wear out after 18 years? Is it just a maintenance issue? or-
You know, this is hard to say because this is kind of hard to say because, I mean, sub 1, that's been in operation for how long? And, you know.
One thing that
you
we
know,
did
the work-
notice is that the insulators that are on the wire going down to the potential transformers,
Mhm.
they were not sealed, it was just open, so the water was just coming down and filling that. And as it was getting there, freeze thaw, it was basically just cracking the ceramics.
Huh.
And then it literally cracked in their hands, I mean, it was that brittle.
And the
which-
new is probably a polymer.
Yeah, new ones are polymer,
Yeah.
and we had the issue this past weekend with the transformer on a Dixon commercial that was kicking out backfeed, and that split the ceramic on that as well, and that actually arced inside the cabinet, because you could see where the metal actually started to deform and melt out, and that's an all-metal cabinet, so if someone would've walked by and touched that, they could have energized themselves. So these are wear items that we didn't have in stock, and as Dalton said, we probably should get some. So we're gonna be mindful of that, and hopefully we'll be able to change out the transformers that we have in these issues, especially like that location with the polymer racks and everything inside. So it's not an issue.
Another stupid question. What's a potential transformer? A transformer that wants to be potentially a transformer?
So the potential transformers are in there for metering purposes.
Okay.
Because you can't meter 69,000 volts, so
Okay.
you have a potential transformer that brings it down to a metering voltage.
Drops it
So-
down. Okay, great. Thank you.
It's basically just
Never heard the term
resistance,
before.
Right, resistance before it gets to the transformer.
Well, again, it brings it down to a
Manageable
manageable voltage for metering purposes, because you can't meter 69,000 volts.
If you could, it'd be amazing.
All right, any other questions on this one? I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the 6 potential transformers for substation number 4 in the amount of $10,508.58.
I will second.
Get a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion on the motion? If none, could we have a roll call, please, Matt?
Hammer.
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Rule.
Aye.
Handler.
Aye.
Curtis.
Aye.
All right, item number 10, the authorization to withdraw funds from the Utility General Fund, LGIP, number 13, to pay off balance of truck loan with Farmers and Merchants Bank per the payoff quote. It looks like we would be using money from the LGIP fund and then reimbursing it after the bonding, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's part of the bond that we need to get the deposit that was made for the truck was done through the loan at the bank. And our bond counsel and our consulting firm Ellers would like that paid off, so it's not part of, it doesn't become an issue. So since it hasn't been fully purchased yet, they just don't, it kind of crosses over between being, okay, is it a loan? Is it a purchase? Have you pre-purchased something that we didn't do the letter of intent for? And so to take it off the board is even a question. They asked us to just pay it off.
Is the LGIP, do we have more than one LGIP account for the utilities, or? this-
You do, right now you have this is electric, so you do have just a basic operating savings LGIP. So that was where we would pull it from, and then when you get the bond proceeds in December, we'll just put it back.
I thought it said it was coming out of the depreciation, that account. But maybe I'm mistaken. on that.
Might have been the terminology. What did you put on the agenda?
It just says, in balance of the LGIP investment account,
Number 13.
yeah.
I mean, I guess it doesn't really.
LGIP general fund, or, yep, no.
It's your main one that you
Yeah,
keep,
no,
you
there's-
keep the funds in
Nope, not in the
for
depreciation.
savings and interest
Okay,
bearing.
all right.
How do funds accrue into that LGIP account?
Periodic deposits, it's one of the ones that gets a transfer once a month into savings. And they're usually withdrawn only when there's big events that occur.
I guess
Yeah.
my
There's
question.
a couple of them that have your money going in there for depreciation, then we pay the bond payments. The larger bond payments for the year have already been paid.
I guess my main question really is if we're taking the money out of the LGIP, which is local government investment pool, is that correct?
Uh-huh,
Hey.
yeah.
That, why would we borrow money to put back into savings? I guess that's my main
Oh,
question.
because of cash flow right now.
Okay,
The utilities is low cash flow towards the end of the year now.
okay,
And the anticipation of the bonds, a lot of those big checks have already gone out.
okay.
So the cash flow is low. I mean, if we look at their books again over the next few days and we see that it doesn't need to be withdrawn, I can just not do it. But for cash flow, we were just looking at the cash flow issue. That's it.
And we get a slightly higher interest rate on the LGIP account, is that
Yeah,
correct?
it's just under 5%.
Okay,
Mhm. So for that few weeks that it's out, you won't have interest earnings on it.
okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Any questions on this one?
I'll move to approve the authorization to withdraw funds from the Utility General Fund, LGIP, number 13, to pay off balance of truck loan with Farmers and Merchants Bank per the payoff quote.
I will second. A motion and a second to authorize the withdrawal of funds from the Utility General Fund, LGIP number 13, to pay off the balance of the truck loan with Farmers and Merchants Bank per the payoff quote. Any discussion on the motion? If there's no further discussion, could we have a roll call, Matt?
Finkler.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Rule.
Aye.
Handler.
Aye.
Curtis.
Aye.
Hammer.
Aye.
Motion passes. Under reports, we have the MEUW report, which I don't know, it's not in the new packet, it's in the old packet. All right. I didn't see a report from you, Jacob, but I know
No,
you've been probably too busy to write a report.
No, it was a recommendation from Mayor Hammer that if there's nothing really pertinent to report, I just leave it
Well, I
out.
mean, you could still have something written up. or
Yeah.
something. I just
Yep.
didn't think it's necessary to.
No.
Yep.
just, to read through a report that you've already had, that you already have in, I just,
Yeah.
as to save time.
Yeah.
Unless you had something.
There was really nothing that, I could really add that we haven't been discussing or already gone through. I will say, though, for the next meeting that we, just to recap, we will have Rupert Milkie here to discuss the biosolids project as well as the rate case. And I will be providing something for discussion is the contract with the, our IT computer support systems and our, basically to run parallel with what the city has with Rhyme. They provided me a temporary or rough estimate account base. Hopefully we can get more detail on what's gonna cost us per month. They were hoping to get some work done with the city and conversions done before they provide us a quote, but I'm like, I really would like to have this. It's pertinent for me to get this IT stuff switched over so I can actually be part of Teams.
Yeah.
Be- Yeah. Yeah, but it's, there's a lot that needs to be taken care of. And also with Rhyme, we have, our printer in the utility building is obsolete. So we're looking to rent a unit for ourselves and for wastewater so they can have, we can take care of everything. And that'll be provided as a quote for approval. Otherwise, I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and tell everyone that I'm very thankful to be able to serve the community and the commission, as well as all my employees that I'm very proud to say that I am their director. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you put a lot of work in the last month trying to revamp numbers, so I appreciate all the work. I'm sure it's been a stressful time, so.
Yeah,
I'm
my
glad-
CPA account, license will be here by the end of next month.
All right, our next regular meeting then will be December 19th. Unless there's anything else, take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
I will second.
Get a motion, a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned at 6:52.